The downtown Dallas skyline shimmered beneath the bright Texas sun as employees hurried into Carter Innovations, one of the city's most successful technology companies. The firm's headquarters occupied the top floors of a luxurious glass office tower known for its elegant design and prestigious business tenants. Every morning, executives, investors, and clients filled the marble lobby, creating an atmosphere of professionalism and success. Security guards greeted visitors politely while receptionists directed meetings with perfect efficiency. Among the busy crowd stood a middle-aged man wearing a simple blue shirt, dark jeans, and comfortable walking shoes, holding a coffee cup in one hand and an old leather notebook in the other. Daniel Brooks quietly admired the building without attracting attention. Daniel had arrived early because he enjoyed walking through the property before beginning his day. Unlike many wealthy businessmen, he disliked expensive cars, bodyguards, or designer suits years earlier. He had built a successful real estate investment company through patience and smart decisions. Instead of seeking public recognition, he preferred living a quiet life, believing that character mattered far more than appearance. Most employees had no idea who he was because he rarely visited the offices and never announced his arrival to everyone else. He looked like an ordinary visitor waiting for someone. A few minutes later, the glass entrance doors opened. Again, as CEO Vanessa Carter entered the lobby surrounded by two senior assistants. She was known throughout the company for her intelligence, demanding leadership and high expectations. Dressed in an elegant white business suit, she walked confidently toward the elevators while reviewing the day's meeting schedule on her tablet. Investors from New York were arriving that afternoon, and every detail had to be perfect as she crossed the lobby. Her eyes suddenly settled on Daniel standing near the elevators. Vanessa slowed her pace and frowned. She quietly asked one of her assistants if the casually dressed man was an employee. The assistant checked quickly but couldn't identify him without asking any questions. Vanessa assumed he had wandered into the building without permission. "This is a private corporate headquarters," she said sharply. "People can't just stand around here." Several employees stopped walking, sensing the tension. Daniel calmly looked up from his notebook and offered a polite smile. Before he could explain why he was there, Vanessa raised her voice. "Security," she called firmly. Two security officers immediately approached, expecting a routine situation. Vanessa pointed directly at Daniel. "Throw him out. He doesn't belong in this building." The lobby became completely silent. Daniel remained calm, showing no sign of anger or embarrassment. He simply closed his notebook, took another sip of coffee, and waited patiently. The officers walked toward him, but as the senior guard came closer, his expression suddenly changed. He immediately recognized the quiet man standing before him. Straightening his posture, the guard respectfully smiled and greeted him by name, leaving every employee in the lobby staring in complete confusion. The senior security guard stopped only a few feet away from Daniel Brooks and immediately stood at attention. Instead of asking him to leave, he extended his hand with genuine respect. "Good morning, Mr. Brooks," he said warmly. "It's great to see you again. We weren't expecting your visit today." The entire lobby fell silent. Vanessa Carter stared at the guard, convinced she had misunderstood what she had heard. Daniel returned the handshake with a friendly smile and thanked the guard. For his professionalism, he remained calm, showing no sign of anger despite the embarrassing situation that had just unfolded. Vanessa frowned and stepped closer. "Why are you speaking to him like that?" she asked, clearly confused. Before the guard could answer, another member of the security team arrived carrying a visitor log. He looked at Daniel and smiled respectfully as well. The senior guard then turned toward Vanessa and spoke carefully. "Ma'am, we can't remove him." He paused for a moment before adding, "Daniel Brooks is the owner of this entire building. Our security team works for the property management company he founded." The words echoed through the marble lobby. Employees exchanged stunned glances, while the receptionist froze behind their desks. Vanessa felt the color drain from her face. She looked back at Daniel, suddenly realizing that the man she had judged by his simple clothes was one of the city's most successful real estate investors. Daniel had purchased the skyscraper years earlier through his investment firm and had quietly leased office space to dozens of businesses, including Carter Innovations. Although he could easily afford luxury cars and expensive designer suits, he preferred living simply and visiting his properties without drawing attention. Vanessa lowered her eyes, embarrassed by her behavior. She realized she had never asked Daniel who he was or why he was there. Instead, she had allowed appearances to shape her opinion within seconds. Gathering her courage, she stepped forward and spoke sincerely, Mr. Brooks, I owe you an apology. I judged you without knowing anything about you, and I was completely wrong. Daniel smiled kindly. Everyone makes mistakes, he replied. The important thing is whether we learn from them. His calm response surprised everyone watching. There was no arrogance in his voice and no desire to humiliate the CEO in return. The employees quietly returned to their work, but the lesson remained with them. Vanessa personally invited Daniel to her office for coffee, hoping to rebuild the conversation on mutual respect rather than assumptions. As they walked toward the elevators together, she understood that real leadership wasn't measured by titles, wealth, or expensive clothing. It was measured by humility, fairness, and the willingness to treat every person with dignity before making a judgment. From that day forward, the culture inside Carter Innovations began to change, reminding everyone that first impressions are often the most misleading.